the soul, no quit in the frame. South Carolina, we rising his name. What we build, legacy, what we fight, adversity, who we are, warriors, Palmetto song, eternity, eternity. Now shift to the circle, lights harsh like Judgment Day. Matt cold as conviction, but the fire won't sway. From the upstate pines to the low country ties, we rise on the same soil, same fight in our eyes. This ain't just a game, this the testament. Hoops and the mat, we're boys becoming. Palmetto blood run deep in the vein. From the tip to the pen, we carry the flame. Grit in the soul, no quit in the frame. South Carolina, we rise in his name. What we build, legacy, what we fight, adversity, who we are, warriors, Palmetto song, eternity. Picture this, Friday night lights dim, low in the gym. Sneakers squeak on the hardwood, echoes of hymns. Kid from the corner, ball in his palm like a promise. Dribble through doubt, cross over doubt like it's Thomas. Mama praying in the bleachers, Lord guide his steps. While he chased that leather dream, no time for regrets. From Burns to the Bluff, Rent to the Battery's Edge. We ball for the banner, for the ones who pledge. Fast break visions, 3 from the arc like a sermon. Defend the house like it's sacred, no permit for vermin. Sweat on the brow, but the heart stay fervent. Every bucket of verse in the book we've been earning. This the scripture of struggle, the gospel of grind. Where the weak get weeded, but the faithful align. Palmetto blood run deep in the vein. From the tip to the pen, we carry the flame. Yeah, Palmetto blood run deep in the vein. From the tip to the pen, we carry the flame. But we grit in the soul, no quit in the frame. South Carolina, we rise in his name. What we build, legacy, what we fight, adversity, who we are, warriors, Palmetto song, eternity. Now shift to the circle, lights harsh like Judgment Day. Matt cold as conviction, but the fire won't sway. Boy, step in the center, weight cut like a sacrifice. 6 minutes of war, no escape from the price. Single leg faith, shoot for the takedown, divine. Escape from the bottom, reverse like redesign. From boiling springs, heat to the coast of the air. We wrestle the demons, leave them pinned unaware. Shoulders to canvas, the rep slap the 3. But the real victory's in the mirror, you see. Pain as the teacher, humility the key. Every pen a parable, what was chained now free. This ain't just sport, it's the soul's declaration. Palmetto warriors rising through tribulation. Who gon' fall when the whistle blow? Nobody. Who gon' rise when the pressure show? We do. From the gym to the mat, through the sweat and the tears, we write our redemption year after year. Let's keep rise, grind, shine. Palmetto forever, this our time. Oh yeah, da. Palmetto blood run deep in the vein. From the tip to the pen, we carry the flame. Grit in the soul, no quit in the frame. South Carolina, we rise in his name. What we build, legacy, what we fight, adversity, who we are, warriors, Palmetto song, eternity. Palmetto song, eternity. So when the banners hang and the gold touch the neck, remember the song, the ground we respect. The state birth kings from the dirt we protect. For quarter Fridays, we never forgive. Amen.
Welcome to Four Quarter Friday, part of the Chief Sports Network. Talking South Carolina high school sports every Friday morning. and proudly presented by the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association. With weekly appearances from coaches, players, and media around the state. Let's go! Time to kick off the first quarter. Happy Friday!
And welcome to Four Quarter Friday here on the Chief Sports Network. I am Matt Smith, coming to you from coastal South Carolina. That is Steve Hall, broadcasting from the Midlands. We will soon be joined by JL Mann Athletic Director Brian Mahan, Post and Courier sports writer David Shelton from the outskirts of the Holy City, as we have designs on covering every corner of the Palmetto State's high school sports scene. Steve, we have reclassification, I think, settled by the South Carolina High School League. I think. We have big games on the slate for boys and girls basketball. More drama and hand-wringing likely coming over where all of these reclassified teams land in region realignment, something that caught my attention. And lest we forget, some big-name programs in football still searching for their next coach. Steve, when you asked me to join this show, I thought we were easing in. January's more it's busier in high school sports than October. I'd forgotten about that. What's grabbed your attention this morning?
Well, the reclassification stuff's always interesting. I do look forward to that being settled so that we can then start getting a lay of the land for the next 3 years, 26, 27, 28. I will go ahead and pop this on the screen, just some of the things that have kind of resulted from the appeals process. It looks like, as you can see, most of them were getting denied, but as you can see, Indian Land won their appeal from being placed in 5A to go down to 4A. Wade Hampton was able to win their appeal from 5A to 4A. Green Upstate, 3A to 2A. And then Marlboro County won their appeal from 3A to 2A. That was an interesting one. We can talk about that here in a second. Palmetto Scholars from 2A to 4A. And then as the appellate panel had to meet as well, we had Brooklyn Casey win theirs, 4A to 3A. Greenville Technical Charter, 4A to 2A. Bridges Prep, 3A to 2A. And then Lucy Beckham from 5A to 4A, which that was interesting as well. But going back to the Marlboro County one, that was pretty interesting because in their appeals process, Smitty, one of their biggest arguments was, the financial difficulties that their district is having. And they haven't hit bankruptcy, but they're not exactly out of the woods from it, so to speak. I believe when I was browsing X this week, I was seeing Lou Bezjak kind of give the play-by-play of those processes and those appeals, and they had something like 5-point-something million cash reserves. They're required to have at least like 2.6. I can't remember exactly the number, but they're looking at having to really pay attention to their spending right now so they don't get close to that, bottom line number that they are required to have by state law. And so their appeal was very much from a travel standpoint based on where they would have been and having it been too costly to their athletic program to be able to go up that classification from what my understanding is.
Well, that's serious business. Now, much of it was like reality television, if you were following Lou Bezjak on Twitter. And I find it fascinating. I've requested to the IRS that they move me from the 3A to the 1A tax bracket. And I've got some travel hardships that I'm going to bring up.
Groceries are a big part of that, right?
That's right. Groceries is a big part
takes
of
a lot to feed a team now.
Presentation, yes. Steve, I'm excited about today's show. This is only my second time with you, and we welcome everyone. You see how hard that we try to work to bring you that information, and we want you to be a part of this as well, because Steve and I won't get to everything in 90 minutes on a Friday morning. So tell us what we're missing. Reach out to us on X at 4 Quarter Friday. You can also email the show at 4quarterfriday@gmail.com, because Steve, we want to hear from everyone, because there's things we're going to ask David Shelton today, or Brian Mahan, athletic director of JL Man. We'll miss some, and we want to make sure that we're hitting on everything and we start to capture all that's great about this state, because there is so much, but there's so many teams, so many stories. But anyway, if you want to reach out to us, Twitter is a great way during the show at 4 Quarter Friday. That's the number 4, just like our graphic. If there's a coach, athletic director, writer, broadcaster you want to see on the show, just do so. Hit us up on X or email us at 4quarterfriday.com. Please do so in kindness. We're listen, I can take the insults. I don't, that's not a problem, but let's keep it positive. Trying to carve out a space that celebrates the achievements of student athletes and all the coaches too. Coaches probably don't get enough love in our state. So tell us about them. We'll platform them here on the Chief Sports Network. But the best way to keep up with us on all the shows on the Chief Sports Network, download the Chief Sports app. You can find us on YouTube at Chief Sports South Carolina as well. So it's just, we want to be interactive with you, and we want to make sure we hit on all of these stories. Steve, it's hard to wrap our heads around. I mean, just what you put on the screen is probably 90 minutes worth of discussion. So there's a lot we want to get to, and we want to make sure people know that we are efforting to get to every corner.
And just to kind of put kind of the framework around how monumental a task this is, Smitty. I mean, we're covering triple the amount of athletic events at least, because you got basketball, boys and girls playing twice a week normally, and then wrestling. And so we have a monumental task ahead of us. So we will not be able to go over every single contest like we did in the fall with football. However, I think we got a great show planned today. We got to get to our interview with Brian Mahan, the athletic director from Mann High School, and looking forward to that after this quick break.
This is 4 Quarter Friday, hosted by Justin Hall and Steve Hall, taking a deep dive into high school athletics in South Carolina every Friday morning. Part of the Chief Sports Network.
Welcome back to 4 Quarter Friday. Matt Smith here with you. We also have Steve Hall, and joining us in this segment, we are...
Appreciate you jumping on.
Welcome back to 4 Quarter Friday. Matt Smith here with you. We also have Steve Hall, and joining us in this segment, we are honored to have JL Man Athletic Director Brian Mahan. This on the heels of South Carolina High School League ruling on realignment, basketball season in full swing, spring sports like baseball and softball starting to practice. Coach, I don't know what being an AD pays anymore, but you sure are busy.
Yeah, we're pretty busy. It's definitely our busiest time of the year with basketball and winter and basketball and wrestling going on, and now all of our spring sports in the open season getting ready to kick off. Official practice in about 15, 16 days, or actually it's less than that now, about 10 or 12 days. And it's getting ready to get real again.
Coach, thanks for joining us, man. Me and you have gone. We've known each other for a long time now, maybe back down as far back as 2009, 2010 when you were in Georgetown. And just a pleasure to have you on. And I told you back in the summertime we were going to going to have to get together, because you also have a cool thing that you do to try to serve your community, your kids and parents inside of the JL Mann area and just all over. And you were telling me a little bit about that. Can you tell us a little bit about what that project is for you and kind of what your goals are for it?
Sure, and I appreciate you guys having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. What Steve's referencing is what we call, or what I call, the Coach Approach HQ. And first, it kind of started out when I retired off the field as a football coach. It was kind of like, I kind of want to stay connected, so I'll start something to kind of give to younger coaches, like what was given to me as I was coming up. And then this job got in the way, and then began to find a balance between, life outside of here and of course, home life, and brought it back at the encouragement of my assistant AD, Lamont Wakefield. And I said, I'm going to go one step further because a lot of our parents and a lot of our kids don't understand the total recruiting process. And so we started concentrating on, a Sunday challenge for coaches, do something this week to help better your program, help better yourself. A Coach Tip Tuesday, a motivational Monday for players, something that, as coaches, what do we look for? What are college coaches going to look for in you? And then we began focusing, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays and Saturdays on recruitment process stuff, For example, right now we're in the middle of 3 series, one about the NCAA and some of the eligibility aspects there, one about coachability. What do coaches look for in you being coachable, and the walk-on process, which a lot of parents have always had a lot of questions about, how do I walk on? How do we get our kids to walk on? What's going to happen? So we're taking, through about seven steps and 7 videos with each of those.
That's incredible, Coach. I mean, I can tell you from remembering, now this is a long time ago, I was a high school athlete. It was like a foreign language when coaches came and spoke to you. College coaches are going to speak to high school kids, assuming they know certain things. But if you didn't have an older brother or an uncle or a parent that played college athletics, you're 15, 16 years old and you don't know what they're talking about.
That's right. And, and my generation, we were part of that where the NCAA began, you got to have a certain GPA, you got to have a certain test score at that part in the late 80s and early 90s, to where now we've gone full circle from, you don't have to have a test score now, but you definitely have to have a 2.3 GPA in core classes. And when you say core classes, people are like, well, what are you talking about? And, they don't realize you got to have 4 Englishes, 3 maths, 3 sciences, 2 foreign, stuff like that. And then on top of that, have the grades and the requirements to get into the institution that you're being recruited by. So it's twofold for all athletes that are getting, recruited as a student athlete.
Now, Coach, we'll circle back to that. I want to ask a quick question in case I've got to sign off here. I really want to get your thoughts on the realignment process, because I feel like J.L. Mann is one of those schools that's caught in between a little bit. Greenville County, Anderson County, Spartanburg County. Tell me, from your perspective as an athletic director, how important, say, travel was in a factor, because you've got girls lacrosse, you've got girls flag football now, you've got a tennis team that you're going to have to get to all these region games. Some regions are spread out. So what's your perspective, and do you let your voice be heard in terms of, I don't know, anything, travel or trying to retain rivalries culturally? What's important to you?
Well, I think the important thing is to realize that each classification, before the entire process starts, and it usually starts months in advance, and the league will survey all of us, asking us what's important to us, regions, how many teams we want in our region, how many schools we believe need to be in each classification or our classification. We need to, what do you want as far as region rivals? Do we want all county schools to remain in the same region, or do you mind being separated? So the high school league asked us all that question, and the realignment committee works real hard at trying to, look at all those things and take in consideration things like travel, and, rivalries, things like that. For us, obviously, we definitely don't want to lose that rival game with Greenville in all of our sports that we play. That's just so much of a natural rival. But talking to other ADs, we all kind of want the same thing. We want to limit our travel, at least in the region, as best as we can. It'd be great if we had every region, team and every region game under a 45-minute to an hour trip. But sometimes that's just not going to be possible. You look at Greenwood and you look at TL Hanna, who's in our region now. Greenwood's a good hour, 15-minute drive, although it's not really that bad of a drive. There's other places I have been, we've had worse drives. Hannah's just 25, 30 minutes down the road. Of course, you got to take in consideration I-85 traffic with that one. But we're kind of in a very fortunate position right now where we're at as far as that goes with travel. But then again, you also want your teams to go out and play quality competition. And you mentioned lacrosse teams. We always want to go down to Columbia and go up to the Rock Hill area, the Charlotte area, and play quality lacrosse programs there, as well as playing, all of our rivals around here. So, you have to take that in consideration too.
Coach, you kind of hit on this a little bit, but are y'all looking at trying to keep those traditional, matchups with TL Hanna in Greenville kind of on the schedule as some of these movements are making in the classification, non-region schedule wise?
Well, we didn't have any conversations with Hanna, because we weren't thinking that Hanna was going to drop down to 4A. So, we try to work on our football schedules November and December for that 2-year process. And so we were thinking we're all going to be in the same region together. And that could change with some of the things that are going on to where we may lose a team that we've already agreed to, by handshake to play as a non-region schedule. But definitely Greenville's on there. I can tell you that game's probably going to be on my birthday, September 18th. It'll be here at JL Mann. That's one where we went through, hey, if you're in the region, we'll play whenever the region schedule says. If we're out of region, we kind of locked in on 2 dates and came up with the September 18th game.
Now, I got another question for you. Let's shift gears a little bit just to the new day and age of high school athletics, and we're starting to talk a little bit about it, but we want to talk about it from a more high level instead of a granular approach when we're talking about the high school transfer portal. This is the first year of that, and I'm starting to see graphics and all that stuff that are popping out. But what is it like as an athletic director dealing with this transfer portal and this climate?
Well, it is what it is to a certain extent. Kids and their families are going to make decisions to do what's best for them. And if that's what they want to do, then, I'm happy for them. Go do what you think's best for you and your child in the situation that you want to be in. At the same time, I think what we've done as a league, at the behest of the South Carolina legislature, we came up with what we thought was the best possible solution to kind of curb it a little bit. We didn't see many transfers in or out of JL Mann, other than the typical 10 to 12 that we get at the beginning of the fall. We're just now starting to look at who we have out for, lacrosse and soccer and all that. We'll figure out who the transfers are then that maybe came in the fall. But I think with what we did as far as, you got to transfer before the first day of official practice. If you don't, then, you can come in after that first official day, then, you're going to be penalized for that late transfer. And then if you transfer twice, there's that penalty of sitting out half the, at least 30% of your games or so many days, whichever is less. So, I think we did that, and then you add the senior transfer rules to it. And I think there's no perfect solution, but at the time, This is probably the best solution we could have had.
Well, I think there is a little bit of confusion out there, I guess, with the general population, and you kind of see some of that lack of clarity happening when some decisions are made. Um, and we don't on the Four Quarter Friday talk about individual kids and decisions and
Right.
all that. That's not something we do. But could you help clarify, just for the general public, for our viewers, for us, what does it look like for example, a player that decides to transfer mid-year in his junior year? Let's just say for a fall sport. Does that impact their senior season at all?
It could. As we found out through a process, we had a situation come up in the fall, as a matter of fact. And the league has decided that if they transferred before the actual end of the season, they would be considered a junior transfer. If they had transferred after the end of that fall sports season, they would have been considered a senior transfer, and thus subject to the senior penalties that get put into place during the 26-27 school year.
Okay.
So, there's situations for every transfer, and it's really too deep to go into. But, I think the high school league has done a very good job of trying to take into consideration some of those sort of common sense things that happen, like a family having lost a job in Myrtle Beach and now they got a job up here in the Spartanburg area or the Greenville area and they had to move. Mm-hmm. Well, that's, the kid shouldn't be penalized because his family moved. So, they look at the common sense stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of the old way of doing things too. Like for a legitimate transfer, there had to be established change of address, and that stuff is still operating as usual, right?
Right. And what most people don't realize here in Greenville County, sorry about that, is you can transfer schools, but you have to live in that school's attendance area, or you have to be at that school on special permission or a magnet. And, if anybody paid attention to what Eastside appealed for about, their building having a lot of open spaces because they were landlocked and, not having a full building with students in their attendance zone, the district will allow students that want to go to Eastside, for whatever reason, be it academics or not, they'll allow them to go to that school on special permission. If not, in Greenville County, everybody's got to be in that attendance zone to go to school. So essentially our rules never really changed, even though the high school league changed that to where, you can go anywhere you want to for school choice purposes.
Right. Well, before we shift gears into, let's just get caught up on JL Mann athletics, because I know that's where the most of your hours mentally and physically are located. But got a quick question for you as far as kind of what you do on your own special podcast, and then as an athletic director, how has recruiting for college shifted with the transfer portal that is now in college? You're seeing less and less scholarships available to, for instance, a South Carolina or a Clemson because they're taking so many of those transfers from that end.
Right.
What is being done? What are y'all doing as coaches at your school as far as guiding a player who in the past might have had that ability to maybe fringe ability to be in that level or Division I level? Are they having to drop down to say D2 and take a spot there and then get into a higher level? Is that playing out at all?
A lot of our guys that went D2 the past 2 years, especially in football, are still with their schools. As far as I know right now, I haven't heard if they entered the transfer portal or not. I don't think any of them did. We just got a visit from one of our players that went to Buffalo, and he's told us he's staying put. He's not going. He loves it there, even though it's frigidly cold. But he's not going anywhere. So, the first thing is everybody believes that all these D1 schools have, like Clemson, South Carolina, have stopped going to visit high schools in South Carolina. That's not the case. They're still coming to visit us. They still want that relationship with us. And that, that's a great thing to have. if there is an outstanding 5-star athlete, they're going to recruit them. Even an outstanding 4-star athlete or a 3-star, they're going to recruit them. And, the chips are going to fall where they fall. We're lucky to have 2 college coaches, in Coach Sweeney and, Coach
Beamer.
Coach Beamer, thank you. Gosh, no, I saw his face, couldn't think of his name. That happens to me a lot, when you get over 55, it happens. That believe in recruiting high school athletes still. And that's a great, especially in their home state. So I don't think that's going to change. But yeah, the spots are becoming less and less, unfortunately. But that also opens up more opportunities at D2, D3, NAIA, or, even what we don't have in this state, JUCO colleges, So that opens up possibilities other places. And then, of course, they got that option to go up.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Well, let's shift gears real quick. Let's go to all about JL Mann. Catch us up. What's going on? Give us like just some things everybody should know about if they're not a parent of a JL Mann High School athlete. Let's educate the whole state of what's going on. We are in winter sports. Basketball is happening. Wrestling is happening. And then if you wanted to highlight any coaches or specific players that are doing special things either in the classroom, off the field in the community, or on the field of competition, I'd love to just kind of hear your passion, because I know, coaches and teachers aren't doing it for the paycheck necessarily. They do it because they believe in it.
Well, it's funny you asked about the student athlete portion of it, because we just got the link to nominate our student athletes for the South Carolina High School League. We'll probably have in the neighborhood of about 40 or 50 kids in that, I'm hoping. Last year, I think we had like 65. It'd be great to go above that number this year. But I haven't started delving into it, but we got a lot of great student athletes. Last year, our valedictorian, our salutatorian, was a cross country runner. And, that was great to see. We have a lot of athletes that are in the top 10% of their class. A lot of them are in the top 10 and top 20. This is a great school to teach at. It's a great school to work at. I am surrounded by great people, especially my assistant athletic directors who take a lot off of me. I got a great principal in Dr. Shannon Gibson, great, administrator that's over athletics directly with Carla Washington. So it's sort of the perfect fit right now. It's a lot of things are going well for us. As you may know, we won 3 state championships in the fall season with the girls and boys swimming and boys cross country. Our girls tennis team played down to the very last point against Spartanburg in the 3rd round, and literally it came down to the last game, the last point, and it could have gone either way. And that was a very good Spartanburg team that beat us that night. Our girls golf team qualified for the first time in about 5 years as a team for the state. So we had a real good fall season. Unfortunately, football didn't go as way as we wanted, but when you have 15 to 20 injuries and you lose 32 seniors and 19 of those were starters, you're going to have a rough season. I don't care who you are. It's going to be rough. And we'll look to bounce back next year. It's not the end of the world. Basketball, our girls and our boys teams both kind of went through a little rough patch. You can tell they're starting to turn around again. The boys, they're competing hard. The girls they played in 2 really good tournaments in Greenville, Tennessee, and Atlanta, Georgia over the Christmas break against some outstanding team. The first team they played in the Greenville, Tennessee tournament had 3 D1 players on it. And they played them tough and only lost, I think, by 12 points that night.
Wow.
So, our records right now in basketball don't reflect what I'm seeing as far as, how they're competing and whatnot. We're in the region schedule now. We're not exactly where we want to be yet, but the boys are sitting at 2 and 3, I think, and the girls are sitting at 3 and 1 or 4 and 1. If I'm not mistaken, they're 3 and 2. I can't remember. we still got a long way to go to get to those playoffs. Wrestling, we're kind of like in football. We're kind of recovering from losing 6 seniors. And when you lose 6 seniors in wrestling, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Brand new coach as well, who got hired late, but they're competing. They're doing their best. They're not not where they want to be yet, but that program will eventually be where it should be.
As much as I love football, it's my number one. I love it. Wrestling, though, I've always said since I was in high school and had friends on the wrestling team at Lexington High, I think it's the hardest sport there is because it's just you versus the other guy on the mat. And what they got to endure for those short periods, man, it's like you got to be in shape. And now you can't even cut weight like you used to be able to and like wrestle down. I had a friend, his name was Mark Lee, and I tell you, he was about 185 in the off season, and I think he was wrestling at 152 in season. So he looked like a shell of himself. So it's a good thing that we passed those rules.
Yeah,
because that was not healthy for us back then.
Yeah,
but
you got all those tests now. You got to go through the preseason and stay right around that area.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to, through my research, just give you a chance to kind of brag about some more of your people, because I know your role is to support coaches who are supporting these kids.
Right.
So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that and your philosophy. But boys soccer last year, they finished 25-0, won a state championship, and based on my research, they were ranked number 1 in the nation.
Yeah. Won the Max Press Mythical National Championship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like the good old days of before we had the BCS, right?
Yeah.
It was the sports writers naming the champion, right?
That's not only a great honor to our program, but that's also a great honor to South Carolina soccer, because Max Press is saying, hey, you got some good soccer teams in South Carolina, which there are. There are some great soccer teams here. And, just across the way, Riverside, won a state championship. And, they are excellent. And, we got them on the schedule for soccer. So, it's not only a tribute to us, but it's a tribute to South Carolina soccer as a whole.
How is that experience from the boys soccer program last season shifted expectations or just in general? How has it impacted the school and the athletic program itself coming off of that season?
Well, it's a great source of pride. Both the boys and the girls won the state championship. The boys, did it pretty flawlessly. The girls really had to battle. They had a lot of key injuries there at the end of the season. Lost their goalie during the last game of the season to a torn ACL, and just had to battle and just showed great resiliency. So it's a great source of pride for this school. Soccer has always been a great tradition here at JL Mann. A lot of Gatorade Players of the Year. Smith Darby is the returning Gatorade Player of the Year in South Carolina. There's high expectations. There's no doubt for the boys and the girls teams.
So you kind of hit on that a little bit. Is are both girls and boys, are they returning a good bit for this next season, or
they are? For the last 2 years, the girls have lost their 2 best players mid-year because they've chosen to be early enrollees at Clemson and then at South Carolina. But they just reload. There's such good talent in this area for soccer, and we're fortunate to have some of that good talent here. Yeah. The boys lost 2 or 3 key players, but they'll just fill them right in with 2 or 3 key players right back. It's good to have that problem.
All right, next person we're going to highlight, I think you know who I'm going to say, is Coach Evan Jones.
Yes.
He was just named the 2025 South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association, who is one of our partners, and we're very thankful for them. But he won the cross-country Coach of the Year back in the fall.
Yes.
Tell us about Coach Jones a little bit.
Well, I think he's still got the trophy sleeping with it. I hope he brings it to the Night of Champions here on the 20th when we're going to recognize him at the Greenwood basketball game. But Evan does such a fantastic job with those kids. He, when we did the interview, he came in with a plan. I mean, detailed, we're going to do this on this day, this on this day. This is what we're going to do in the off season. This is how we're going to progress our runners to make them better. We're not going to try to jam it all in at once. And to say it, his plan has just kind of worked out flawlessly. It has. Those kids, they bought into it. They love him to death. He's continually has anywhere from 75 to 80 kids in that program. And they're hard workers. He's a hard worker. His coaches are hard workers. And, when you work hard, good things happen. And that's what's happened for our boys cross country program.
That's awesome, man. All right, now, so let's do a little rapid fire. You ready? These are going to be easy. We're going to get you out of here because I know you got a lot of stuff to do. As an athletic director, you got besides scheduling, which is a huge part of your job, right? With weather changes for the spring that's coming up. You got oh gosh, I'm blanking on which eligibility. Yeah. The eligibility, it's the nightmare of spring eligibility, especially at school for you. You got so many athletes.
Yes.
All right. So, the Greenville rivalry. All right, Serene Stadium or a home game at Patriot Stadium, which has the most electric atmosphere?
Oh, I'm gonna say our place.
Of course, you got to.
Yeah,
I expect.
I gotta say our place.
I got to expect that.
And both stadiums have their appeals. The first Greenville JL Man game that I was AD for was played over at Serene. I think we had almost 8,000-9,000 people there, and it was a great atmosphere.
Wow.
And they told me about the year before at JL Man where they had just as many, people standing 6-7 deep on the sides. So I look forward to getting them back over here next fall, and hopefully we won't have a hurricane like we did in 24 wipe out our game.
Yeah, no kidding, right? That's crazy. Yeah. All right, food related. All right, game day fuel. All right, what is the must-have item out of the concession stand on a Friday night, or on in a concession stand in the gym? Okay, and what is the best spot to go to before coming to a JL Man game?
Ooh.
Restaurant. What is the best restaurant we should go to if we're up there?
For me, out of our concession stand at football games, it's a Chick-fil-A sandwich. About the end of the first quarter, I head over there and grab me a Chick-fil-A sandwich. If I'm on the visitor side with the band concession stand, it's going to be a Bojangles sandwich. So just get some protein in me just to get me through the next 2 or 3 hours.
That's right.
Our basketball concession stand's pizza. Get some Papa John's. I would say it depends on what you're in the mood for. If you want some good pizza, go to Frodo's, just down the street. If you move for barbecue, hometown or home team, excuse me, I'll go down there. That would be my 2 go-tos.
The fried chicken wings over at home team.
Oh, they're
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right, this one might be a little bit of a head scratcher, but it's random. I like random sometimes. If the Patriot mascot had a walk-up song, what would it be?
Ooh, it would have to depend on who's doing it. Gosh, I'd say with Hottie this year, it would have probably been "The Man" by Aloe Black.
All right. I'm going to have to look that one up. I'm not well-versed in music these days. All right. Next, let's do this. If you had to have one superpower to help you on a Friday night as an AD, would it be teleportation, all right, or weather control?
Weather control.
I had a feeling.
Let me turn on the AC during football season.
All right, how long have you been at JL Man now, Coach?
This is 3 years now.
3 years. Okay, this might be a tougher question because you haven't been there for eternity. You've been all over the place. All right, but if you are in Ronald E. Moore Gymnasium, all right, fairly newly named, right?
Yeah, February 6th, we'll dedicate it.
If you could go back in time and watch one classic JL Mann game in that gym, which one are you or your community picking?
Oh, wow. That's kind of a tough one. I mean, I've heard of some good battles with Greenville, obviously, in that gym. Also some good battles with Wade Hampton. Probably any one of those games or probably a Malden game.
Got it. All right. The Mann script. All right. If you were writing the headline for the school newspaper for the end of this school year, what would it say?
Patriots continue to have a stellar athletic season.
There you go.
Hopefully we'll say they added 3 to 4 more state championships in the spring.
There you go. All right. Man, I think that's out. That's everything, man. Any lasting or parting words that you would like to just highlight of your school or your students?
Yeah, let me highlight a couple of things. Lamont Wakefield, our girls basketball coach, also my assistant AD, he's approaching 400 career wins. Hopefully we'll get him before this season's over. January 23rd, we're going to induct a new class into our Hall of Fame. February 6th, we're going to formally dedicate the gym to Ronald, Coach Moore. So
awesome. And
then, of course, we look forward to spring season with soccer, lacrosse, tennis, baseball, softball, track and field.
Well, keep us up to date. We're trying to cover the whole state of South Carolina with this show in every sport. And so anytime you feel like there's a story that we need to be paying attention to and highlighting, please send it our way.
Will do.
But, man, I appreciate you jumping on, my friend, and go Patriots.
Well, thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Go Patriots.
Yeah, man.
It's football season. The Barn Dominium Company wants to help you build your dream home with your dream space to watch the games and entertain your friends and family. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com for floor plans, photo galleries, locations, and to learn more about us.
Oh man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
When playing sports, you want a coach that will fight for you. At Hewitt Diamaduros Law Firm, we've got your back. Whether it's personal injury, insurance disputes, negligence, or wrongful death, our team delivers exceptional legal services that makes meaningful difference in the lives of the individuals and families we work for. Visit hdlawsc.com. hdlawsc.com. Hewitt Diamaduros, we're on your team.
Check the statewide high school scoreboard every Friday night on the Chief Sports app.
This is Four Quarter Friday. Matt Smith here with you. We have Steve Hall, as I've mentioned, in the Midlands, and we are happy to have David Shelton joining us, longtime writer for the Post and Courier. Our thanks again to Brian Mahan of JL Mann. David, welcome this morning. I wanted to, for those that don't know, you battled some health issues right around football season when I know you didn't want them. So how are you feeling these days?
I'm improving, getting better. I'm still having a few issues, but we're working through them, and it's just a lot of doctor visits and stuff. So little frustrating at times, but you got to do what you got to do.
Well, we're so happy. We see you standing there, and that's great. And anybody that has followed high school athletics in this state knows your name, and that's why we wanted to have you on, because you've been through this so many times, reclassification, all of these other things. We'll get to that in a second, but I wanted to ask you what you know about Goose Creek basketball. 17-1. It appears they are fantastic on the defensive side. Nobody in the state has been able to eclipse 50 points against them. They just came off a big win over Cane Bay, and they've been fantastic in recent weeks. What can you tell us about the Gators, and how does Blake Hall have his team buying in like this? No, I see David's not on the screen. Are we losing him? Okay, we'll try to reschedule David. If you could, Steve. Well, I'll message him and we'll see if we can't do a little bit better with David in terms of his signal, because we wanted to ask him not only about reclassification but also about Goose Creek, who is 17-1, as I mentioned, in boys basketball, and then on the girls' side, they are the number one team in the state in 5A Division II. I don't know if we're going to be able to have David on, so we'll David, I see you back on the screen. We lost you there for a moment. Okay. I see you, David. All right, I will message David, and we will try to have him back on next week. Steve, if you'll unmute. We hated to do that, but we'll get back to all the things you mentioned to Brian Mahan. But I'll ask you the question we were going to pose to David Shelton. As you start to look at this reclassification, now that we're talking to more coaches and ADs and getting those perspectives, because obviously we are fans of going to watch games. High school basketball, high school football, high school baseball, all those different things. What kind of stands out to you reclassification-wise, especially now that we're hearing from coaches and ADs about travel? You have rivalries. You want to, Coach Brian Mahan was just telling us he doesn't want to lose games against Greenville and Wade Hampton and such. And so when you take a look at what's happening in terms of realignment and reclassification, what jumps out at you? What rivalries do you want to keep alive? And frankly, are we doing this right? Are we doing this the right way? Do you think they're doing a good job based on the numbers, the enrollment? Their hands are tied in some respects, but in other respects, it's so important to keep these rivalries alive for these communities.
I'm not too worried about the losing rivalries. Usually, this is kind of just like what we go through every 3 years. Teams are usually going to figure out those rivalries because they're such an important factor for their gates. Even if they do get out of the region or the classification, they're going to figure out a way to schedule them in the non-region schedule. So, Smitty, I'm not too worried about that, losing rivalries of such. It's going to get interesting, of course. We're having some more appellate committees today. Looks like, according to Ian, we're going to get started here soon today. Here, it's actually been 30 minutes, so they're already probably to Hilton Head Island's appeal. Dreer had their appeal at 9 a.m. Need to double check on that, see how that went. Greer Middle College is also going today. South Florence and West Florence will be appealing the decision from 5A to 4A, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Blacksburg is going to have their meeting today at 10:40. Pendleton at 11. and Brashear Middle College at 11:20. So we got some more. It's still not completely settled, but all in all, I'm not too worried about the rivalries being severely impacted.
Well, obviously, I've got that. I've got those ties to the upstate. And one thing I looked at, I'm gonna read the tweet here from @Greer News Sports. And by the way, we've got some comments on YouTube as well asking us about the Charleston area that we're going to get to in a minute about Lucy Beckham and James Island. So yeah, we appreciate you watching on YouTube. Thank you for joining us here on Four Quarter Friday. We'll try to get to all those. We also want you to tweet us at fourquarterfriday.com. But the tweet I was going to give you from @Greer News Sports, Steve, is in 5A in the upstate. And we just had Coach Brian Mahan, the athletic director at J.L. Mann, on. So this affects those of you that either have teams that play J.L. Mann or just up there in the upstate. So Greenville County, in terms of 5A, is going to look something like Malden, Eastside, J.L. Mann, Woodmont, and Hillcrest in the same region. Now, of course, that doesn't mean you're going to lose certain games because there's always non-region opportunities. And Coach Mahan already said that they're going to play Greenville on his birthday. So they know they've got that one locked in. Spartanburg County, in terms of 5A, is Dorman, Burns, Spartanburg, Boiling Springs. And now what's interesting, Steve, and you could kind of glance at the 5A after realignment and the enrollment, and you tell me what is going to be if they were going to be 5-team regions. So if Greenville County is all together, which makes sense, and I think Coach Mahan was just telling us that makes sense. Look at Spartanburg County. What do you see? Dorman, Burns, Spartanburg, Boiling Springs. Who comes in? And @Greer News Sports was pointing out, hey, is it going to have to be Fort Mill? Because that's a pretty good haul to go from, say, Burns to Fort Mill. Or is it going to be something, somebody from closer to the Midlands, which is an interesting one. So what you could end up with there in the upstate, at least, is an outpost, which is always interesting. When we'll go way back. We'll go way, way back. There used to be Region 2 4A was a great football conference in the 90s. It had Gaffney, Northwestern, Rock Hill in it, but those three were kind of lumped together, and then they played those Spartanburg County schools, so you knew you were going one way or the other. It would be hard, don't you think, say if you're Fort Mill, because the other schools have gone down to 4A, to be out there, and as I'm saying, an outpost all by yourself, which means you're traveling all the time. The other teams might play each other inside the county, but you're traveling all the time. Now, we don't know if it's going to work out that way, but it's just interesting that Greenville County has enough, and Spartanburg County comes up just one short of having enough for a 5A region.
Actually, dude, you know the upstate better than I do, so your guess is as good as mine. Let
me see if I can pull up those enrollment figures again.
In my memory, I don't think I've ever seen a Midlands team in an upstate region.
No, I can't imagine.
I
can't imagine.
That doesn't seem to track from a historical standpoint. I know we had a question about any chance that from James Churchill, he's asking if there's any chance that James Island moves to another region in Charleston with Lucy Beckham leaving. That's a good question. I'm probably better to kind of make those guesses on the Columbia, the Midlands area, to be frank. We'll see what happens in the lower part of the state. It's a lot of moving parts, Smitty. It'll be interesting to see what these regions look like. At the end of the day, though, the cream will always rise to the top. As far as the competition goes. Travel, though, seems to be almost always one of the predominant factors of what makes these decisions outside of the enrollment.
Yeah, I agree. And the question here, and thank you, James, for getting that question in on YouTube. why would James Island and Lucy Beckham want to continue to be in 4A? Why would they want to put through those students through all that travel? And I don't know. Luke Bajak probably tweeted about it. We could probably go back and read his tweets. Yeah. If anybody wants to dig in, if you like reality television, you just want to read a script for reality television, Lou Bajak of The State, at Lou at The State. You can find him on Twitter, and you can find so much about the reason that the schools gave for their particular appeals. Now, I think when you look at someone like James Island, which hasn't been around forever, for me, we were talking to J.O. Mann Athletic Director Brian Mahan, bringing up the fact that there's certain schools and rivalries you hold dear, and because they're important to the community. And look, let's be honest. And I always look at it from a perspective of the games that we want to see, but also you've got to worry about attendance, right? I mean, there's sometimes you're playing a school, nobody wants to miss that game, right? Like Gaffney's playing Burns, Dorman is playing Spartan High. There's just games that you're flat out not going to miss. If Goose Creek is playing Somerville in football, good luck getting a ticket. So those are games that we don't want to lose for certain reasons. And then you start bringing in enrollment. Why would Lucy Beckham and James Island want to put their students through all that travel? I don't know, but I think they're probably in different circumstances because they haven't been around forever. They don't have all of those traditional rivalries built up. So they are probably looking through a different prism than other schools may be. They may be more willing to travel for certain reasons, and they may feel like their fan base can deal with it based on, maybe the thought is, hey, once you start, if you start going from James Island, once you get off of James Island, you're stuck in traffic anyway in Charleston, so no matter which way you go. So I don't know all of the factors that go into those appeals, those particular appeals. But I just know that there are so many schools and communities that those games, and it's not just football, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's lacrosse, it's keeping all of those rivalries for those communities alive. You want to make sure that you have opportunities in non-region play. But there are some of the charter schools like James Island, I'm certain. It says James Island's been around since the 50s. I guess so, but do they have traditional rivalries? I didn't know James Island had some traditional rivalries. I don't think of them in that mode, in that same mode as because they've switched classifications too, right? They've gone up and down in classification.
The 4A region down there is really interesting. You hit on that for Lucy Beckham. Like, where are they going to go? I mean, could they go up north a little bit? Could they go be playing some Myrtle Beach schools? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, they're right there on 7 or near 17. And so, either way, they're driving a long way. But there's a 5-team region already kind of in that Beaufort area. I mean, Colleton County is a little further away, but, you got Colleton County, Hilton Head, Beaufort. I'm just looking at the old list that was sent out on December 19th. So some of these might have moved. It's a lot of schools to keep track of. There's over 200 schools in South Carolina. So, them going down that area, that's to your point, that's a ton of driving. It's not easy to get from Mount Pleasant to Beaufort County.
Right. And I used to live over there. So, like West Ashley area.
Yeah.
West Ashley and James Island, even I'm going to bet that's not even an easy drive, even though as the crow flies, they're not that far from each other, just based on how you have to go through Charleston. So I wonder if those are factors in a way that it's not when you're you have connective tissue in the upstate when you have I-26 and 85. Or if you're in the Midlands, I mean, even though you know this from living there, you have to go through Columbia traffic. Sometimes, if you've got a 7:00 game, then you're going through Columbia traffic, and you're just going to have to deal with that. But at least on the map, you're close, community-wise, culturally, you understand. There's history there. So I think different schools are going to have different reasons for their appeals, and we heard everything. I mean, you absolutely heard everything. Competition was a part of it. As you said, money was a part of it. Travel for the fans was absolutely a factor. But that stood out to me. That tweet from @Greer News Sports stood out to me because, it would have solved a lot of problems if, say, Gaffney would have remained in 5A. Then you would have had the Spartanburg County schools plus Gaffney. Gaffney's always, it's one town, one team. They knew that, they're going to be an outpost. Gaffney is not that close to anything. You have teams in 5A up there in the Rock Hill area. Rock Hill is going to remain in 5A. Fort Mill is a 5A team. Northwestern is a 5A team. But are there enough, to put together 5A? And I just ask. Sometimes I just ask, are we doing this the right way? Are we doing this the right way? Should we look at mixed regions and take travel into account? I like to take traditional rivalries. I like to take, Coach Mahan brought this up. I even like to take county lines into account, because I think when you're playing somebody from inside your own county, it's an arbitrary line. We all know that. There's nothing special, when you pass over from Berkeley to Charleston County necessarily. But there's just something about growing up in a certain county that you just always know those other schools. You just, if you grow up in that county, you just know them. So to me, that's something to keep an eye on. We'll have a guest on next week. Maybe we'll reach out to Lou Bays-Jack or someone like that. In the meantime, we'll get to another break. We've still got to cover the top 10 rankings for high school boys basketball. We've got girls basketball. We've got games that we want to look forward to, we want to see. We have, Steve, you have news on the Blue Devil Invitational. We talked to Kyle Kimry, wrestling coach from White Knoll. He gave us a preview to that. Now we have results to that. So we still have a lot of ground to cover. And if you have more questions or topics you want to bring up and make sure we get into this round table, hit us up on Twitter at 4 Quarter Friday. Or you can email the show, 4quarterfriday@gmail.com. We're covering basketball, wrestling, and more on the other side of this break. This is 4 Quarter Friday on the Chief Sports Network.
Palm Casual Outdoor Patio Furniture proudly supports high school athletics across South Carolina. If it's time to make your outdoor space the best it can be, with lifetime warranties and guarantees, visit one of our Palm Casual stores in Myrtle Beach, Bluffton, Somerville, or Mount Pleasant. PalmCasual.com. PalmCasual.com. Turn on the lights. It's Friday night.
At Moultrie Insurance, our agents are working for you. Our commercial lines of coverage are well-sourced and intimately chosen. We offer commercial lines of coverage such as business owners, umbrella, property, auto, or general liability coverage, and evaluate every option to find what fits you best. Like a good offensive coordinator, we will draw up the plays, but only run with what you feel comfortable. Get in touch with our quarterback, Perry Orth, or our head coach, Frank, by visiting MoultrieINS.com. MoultrieINS.com.
It's the 4 Quarter Friday High School Show on the Chief Sports Network. Proudly covering high school athletics across the state of South Carolina with accurate, trusted analysis, in-depth interviews with coaches, media, and players, and quality information. Every Friday at 9 a.m. We're here for you. Proud partner of the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association.
Welcome back to the 4 Quarter Friday show. Steve here, Smitty. We have to talk about some basketball now, and we're going to talk about some wrestling as well. Actually, before we get to basketball, Smitty, I texted you last night, and we talked and didn't realize that there's a major college football recruit for coming out of Burns High School. Trey Segarra, the running back, We've talked about him a lot on this show, and I know it's not football season, but it is wrestling season, and I happen to see that he's the number 4 ranked wrestler in the 215 weight class in 5A. How about that?
Incredible. Yeah, that's incredible. And anybody you mentioned in the interview with Brian Mahan of JL Man, you mentioned having buddies growing up wrestling. Anybody that's ever messed around, as guys do, maybe you're playing backyard football or anything like that, or a wrestling match breaks up after one of the games in a just a fun manner. You don't mess with guys who wrestle. You just don't. They have tendon strength, and there's no question. There is absolutely no question. We talked to Kyle Kimmery about this a couple of weeks ago as well, the wrestling coach for White Knoll. There's no question being a wrestler helps you in other sports. There's absolutely no question about that, because of the level of training, the way that you get to know your body. I couldn't have done it. I just could not have done it. Wrestling was something I couldn't have messed with because I saw how bad those dudes were. So I always give mad respect to those guys that do that. And I think I'm not surprised, by the way, that Trey Segura is both an elite in the high school football rankings and then elite in the high school wrestling rankings as well. And I'm certain that one helps the other in both cases.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have great high school football players that have played in this state that were also great high school wrestlers that go on to play in the league, in the NFL. Robert Quinn was a state champion wrestler at Fort Dorchester. We know how good he was at North Carolina, and also in the NFL as well. There's other examples too. But yeah, you got to think, like, if you're Stan Drayton, the new running back coach for the South Carolina Gamecocks, you're recruiting Trey Segura, and you got to like how he's a wrestler as well. So he probably knows how to use his hands really well, and leverage as well when you're maybe pass blocking. And so that being such a hot topic when you're talking about running backs in the pass game when they're not going, out running a route. That has been a problem for the Gamecocks, is having that position block well for Lenora Sellers. So, that's got to be an exciting proposition for Coach Drayton as he's recruiting that young man. Smitty, let's talk a little bit about the Blue Devil Invitational at Drury High School that happened last weekend, that Kyle Kimmery was telling us about. So it was a big tournament. Clover ended up winning that tournament, placing first with a score of 202.5 over Maiden, North Carolina. It looks like the only North Carolina school that was down here. They placed second. And then Blythewood finished third at 150 for 159 points. Clover ended up having first place finishes Luke Hudson at the 120 weight class, first place finish at the 144 weight class for Xavier Gonzalez, first place for Tyrone Norris III at 157, and then they had second place finishes at 165 and 190 with Owen Tatum and Ethan Vaught. And then a third place finish for Aiden Santiago at weight class 126. So that congratulations to the Clover Blue Eagles for winning that prestigious tournament. Had a ton of teams. It looked like 27 total teams there. We also have results from the Eagles Nest Duels at Greenwood High School. Smitty, to give you a little bit of upstate wrestling results. The boys champion was Lugolf Elgin. The Demons over there won that. The Greenwood girls, won a 3-way tie. So good stuff from around the state for wrestling there. What do you think about us talking some basketball now, Smitty?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, we will. I see we've got some viewers on YouTube, which we really appreciate. And James is saying, he's talking about the rivalries with James Island. Now, for me, and look, this is my own ignorance. One of my best friend's sons went to James Island. I always thought of them. I'm older too. Kind of like they were one of those schools that were moving up like 3A, 4A, 5A, growing over time and hadn't established those rivalries. But hey, James is he's schooling me on that. So, I understand, because at that point I was in the upstate covering things. And Roger's on with us as well on YouTube, and we appreciate that. Roger mentioning how Woodruff is growing fast. And Woodruff is exploding, that Woodruff Greer, anything between the corridor and Spartanburg Greenville, and says that because of having such a large Class 1A, the line between 2A and 3A has shifted. So Woodruff will be 2A the next 2 years. Many others did the same. And that's true. That is one of the questions that I think we will pose. Maybe we'll have a Lou Jack on with us next week, or another writer that has been covering this so closely, like Ian Guerin, and just get some explanations on why 1A has gotten so big, 5A has gotten so small. No one wants to be in 5A. It's down to like under 40 teams. So that has affected how these regions will play out as well. So that is something we will tackle next week. So we appreciate you watching us on YouTube. Please, if you're a fan of high school sports, tune in every Friday. And listen, it's not just right now. You can catch us all the time. You can go back and watch the shows. They're good for a week, right? And now we'll move on, Steve, because you're right. It's basketball season. And I know we were going to talk to David Shelton. We couldn't get hooked up with him, but Goose Creek is 17-1. Burns beat Dorman in boys. There's just so much great action that we got to get to before the show is up, and we won't miss this opportunity next week. We'll focus a little bit more on basketball. But you're right, basketball is red hot right now. Region plays in the middle of it.
Well, I mean, something that Region 2 in 5A Division 1 and the boys, you got 4 of the top 10 all in Region 2. I mean, talk about a brutal region. Whoever's coming out of that, I mean, you could have the third place team in that region potentially really compete for a state championship, Smitty. This week we have Dorman at 1, Dutch Fork at 2, Ridgeview at 3, Cane Bay at 4, Burns at 5, who's, by the way, 5-0 in region play. Yep. Went 3-0 over the last 7 days, roughly. It's kind of hard in basketball. Some of these teams, might only play 2 games, 7 days from, Tuesday, basically, is kind of how I look at it, because we got games tonight. But Burns won over Gaffney by 32, Spartanburg by 4, and Dorman, they beat Dorman by 13, and check this out. Spartanburg lost to Dorman and Burns over the past week by a combined of 9 points.
Yeah, the Vikings are good. That's right. The Vikings are good, and I'll let you get back to the top 10 in just a second, but I want to throw out there, are we sure, and I'm interested to see where the rankings land next week, are we sure Burns is not the best team in 5A Division 1? And they're 5th. They were 5th last week. Are we sure? Now, listen, Ridgeview's good, you know that, but they lost. Yeah. They lost a big one. Who was that to? Woodmont? Westwood. It was. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Westwood
3 points.
Yeah, great game. Yep. You got Ridgeview. Ridgeview's loaded with talent. Dutch Fork's good, but they took a tough loss to Christ Church. So we don't know. Dorman is going head-to-head with Burns and lost. Cane Bay just lost to Goose Creek. I'm just not sure. Yeah. We'll have to get our eyes on some of these teams, but I'm just giving some love to Burns. It may be that Lane Fowler has the best Division I team, that best 5A Division I team in the state. He may vault from 5th to 1st in the next rankings.
Well, it is pretty insane. I mean, you got Ridgeview after that, loss. They've since to go on to beat Spring Valley by 46, Lugoff Elgin by 21, and West Florence by 48.
That woke them up.
So, yeah, I mean, I think maybe that might have motivated Coach Staley's team a little bit to wake up a little bit. Not saying that they were asleep, because that Westwood Ridgeview rivalry is big. They're always going to be in a tough matchup. So you got Asher Ridge down there at 6. They're 15-2 on the year. West Ashley's 14-3. I'm really curious to see how these low country teams end up as we get further into region play in the playoffs. Bowling Springs is at number 9. They've lost some tough games to Eastside and Riverside, who are very good Division II teams. And Smitty, Division II's just looking just as competitive. You mentioned Goose Creek already at 17-1. It would not surprise me if they ended up the season, holding the trophy. As good as both of those programs are, girls and boys. Greenville's at 1 right now, though. They're 5-0. We got Westwood at 2, Riverside at 3, Fort Mill at 4, Goose Creek at 5. I already said that. T.L. Hanna, St. James, Irmo, Nation Fort, and Eastside. What it was interesting, I saw Irmo kind of had an upset loss to Lexington by 13. And then they also lost to River Bluff, who has kind of struggled a little bit, but they lost to them by 2. And their lone win over the last 7 days is Newberry by 2. So Irmo might be struggling a little bit right now. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Then in 4A, Smitty, 2 regions make up, 6 of the top 10 in 4A boys. Great Collegiate, North Augusta, and Brooklyn Casey all hailing from Region 4, and Crestwood, Wilson, and Darlington all hailing from Region 5. And so, basically we got some big games to talk about for tonight, and one of those games is, I believe, going to be Crestwood and Darlington. So we got a top 10 matchup in 4A coming up tonight.
Yeah, and I saw that Gray got a big win over North Augusta. So Gray looks like they have really found themselves. And I don't know, Dion Bethay's got a good club. He has for several years. I know he had that 1 year that he took off for Georgia Southern and worked as an assistant, but he's back at Gray Collegiate, picking up right where he left off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't mind, let me show you, let me just bring up the boys' games of the week, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We're going to bring this up here, and then we'll shift to the girls and any other games that you want to highlight as well. But here we got some of the games going on tonight. North Augusta, Brooklyn Casey, a big region matchup. Both of those teams are really good. Loris and Georgetown, a really interesting game. Dorman and Eastside. I expect in these rankings, you can kind of ignore these. These are coming from Max Preps, and I don't exactly know how they do that. I have a hard time believing Dorman's the number 19 team in the state. Bowling Springs and Burns will be a really good one. 2 top 10 matchup, 2 top 10 Division I teams. Camden and Lancaster, that's an interesting game. Yeah. Lancaster, just beat number 9 South Point by 1 point. And Camden just lost to South Point in overtime last Friday. So that'll be an interesting game for the region.
Yeah.
We have the Darlington and Crestwood also.
No, I agree with your setup here. These are games I'd love to see. Loris has a big-time football influence. They've got a great run of athletes going at Loris right now, including the twins that starred both in football and now starring in basketball. On the road, it looks like at Georgetown. So that's one to keep an eye on. We'll see if Dorman can, right the ship. Eastside's no pushover. And I know Thomas Ryan invites that, the head coach for Dorman. He loves to play tough competition. Well, he's got it this year. He's got it all over that region. I don't know what Bowling Springs has. I haven't seen their players, but man, Burns is rolling. They really caught my attention beating Dorman by double digits. The fact that they've done that. So I'm going to circle that Burns Boiling Springs game. I want to follow Burns. Sometimes we don't know within the different parts of the state, right? Sometimes the Midlands is at the best and at the top, and sometimes it's the upstate or the lower part of the state. We don't always know, but just based on resume, I really have my eyes on Burns right now. Coach Fowler has, and his son Colt leading the way. They have really opened my eyes with what they've done over the last 2 weeks.
And if I were to pick a game to go to tonight, just to be different than you, Smitty, because if we had the ability to both be in two different locations,
yeah,
that's
where are you going?
Ideal. I'd probably go to the Darlington Crestwood game. That's really interesting to me. Darlington's really good in basketball. The girls' team's really good as well. Crestwood, the home of Ja Morant, right? And so I think I might pick that one just to see a different matchup. North Augusta and Brooklyn Casey are awfully interesting as well. But I think I'd have to pick the Darlington Crestwood matchup tonight for me. So I'm going to a different place. Smitty, we have 5 minutes left in the show. So let's switch to why don't we bring up the girls' games of the week and kind of start talking about a little bit of the girls' rankings here. Kind of highlighted these as kind of the top 5 matchups tonight for girls basketball. Anything that jumps off the page to you?
Well, Dorman girls just got a big win over Burns. So they're, obviously just like the boys, they're traveling to Eastside, which is not easy. And I know Berkeley's really good in girls as well. And Berkeley Wando, that's kind of you're going to get great emotion in the gym tonight. Berkeley against Wando. That's a big one. And then right there in your backyard, Lexington and Dutch Fork. I don't know what Dutch Fork has done this year. I'll have to look where that. Okay, so they're ranked 8th in the 5A Division I girls. Dutch Fork is ranked 8th, and Lexington is ranked 9th. So a lot on the line. And you talk about emotion in the gym. They're gonna get after it tonight. Lexington at Dutch Fork. What's that travel like when you go Lexington to Dutch Fork? That's not far, right?
No, I mean you got to deal with Irmo traffic, which is always fun. But 30 minutes probably.
Get there early
over the dam.
I love that matchup though. I just think Lexington at Dutch Fork tonight, if I could transport myself somewhere, that's the gym I'd want to be in tonight for that girls matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Daniel and Blue Ridge looks really interesting as well, Smitty, and then Wando and Berkeley. The Fighting Jamie Bradfords, girls basketball down there having a good season. Only 2 losses on the year.
Incredible. All right, just a couple of minutes left before what we get. We're going to get you. We want you to check out everything here on the Chief Sports Network. If you don't have the app, download the app to your phone. You can also check everything out that we do and everybody does. Jamie Bradford's coming up next with Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. It's going to be on YouTube at Chief Sports South Carolina. But again, you can always get everything on the app. JC Sherbert, Coffee with JC. And then you also get JC Sherbert coming up with Phil Molnax in the afternoon. You can follow them on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at 4 Quarter Friday. We're going to get you covered. We're building a bigger network. And what we are doing, our arm here, Steve and I, we are trying to focus on what is happening inside this state. And I'm fascinated. Next week, of course, we're going to keep tracking what's happening in wrestling and girls and boys basketball. We'll recap all of these big games, but then we also have realignment news that's going to start to leak out. We'll try to get a writer that is on the inside with that. We already talked about 5A a great deal. Just let me throw this at you. There's a chance. The way 4A looks right now, you could have some Greenville County teams and Gaffney in the same region in 4A, and that would be travel. You also might end up with 4A teams in Greenville because there will be so many split up. Will Greenwood and Greenville remain in the same region as they were in Region 1 5A together? Will they remain in the same region? Not an easy travel there to get down to Greenwood, but Greenwood may be an outpost in 4A. So a lot to take into account. We'll absolutely cover that next week as long as keep you up to date. Final word here in the final minute from you, Steve.
Well, let's just see how these results go tonight. It'll be very interesting as things continue to shape up for region play, and we're getting closer and closer to playoffs, Smitty.
Absolutely. There's going to be some good region teams. They're going to take league losses tonight. There are going to be top 10, top 5 quality state title contending teams that will take losses tonight. That's how stiff the competition is, especially as what you pointed out, Steve, in a couple of those regions. That's it for us on the network. Jamie Bradford and Inside the Gamecocks are next. For Steve Hall, I'm Matt Smith. This has been 4 Quarter Friday on the Chief Sports Network.
From the Low Country to the Upstate, from the Midlands to the PD, we've got you covered. This is our state. South Carolina matters to us. All of South Carolina. We love talking ball, and we love talking ball with you. Thank you for tuning into the 4 Quarter Friday High School Show. Every Friday at 9 a.m. on the Chief Sports Network. Proudly presented by the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association.